Hi, I'm Lexi with HyprMX here at Pocket Gamers Connect London 2024. Joining me is Gus Viegas from Cosmic Lounge Games. Gus, thank you so much for meeting with us today and welcome.
Absolute pleasure to be here, yeah.
So I know you've been in the industry for quite some time now. Could you walk us through your journey and your career and tell us more about yourself?
Yeah, I'll try not to bore anyone, but it's been a decade now. Quite a bumpy, exciting ride, I have to say. I'll just go over the cliff notes for everyone. Started actually with making board games, if you believe it or not. Going through a Spotify competitor, a gamified one. Made my own startup, and that was the segment in Portugal, actually. Moved to Helsinki. Been very blessed with the places that I passed by. A company that got bought up by Supercell at some point, Rovio, as you know and love, and some startups, some of them successful, like Lessmore. And now I'm here at Cosmic Lounge, which is pretty great.
Nice. And your title is VP of Marketing, right?
Yeah.
So what does a day in your life look like in that role? And can you just also tell us a little bit more about Cosmic Games Lounge, or Lounge Games?
So, Cosmic Lounge Games. Cosmic Lounge is a studio made by puzzle game veterans, people that come from King and Seriously and Rovio. And we have, I think, an average age in the industry of 10 years, some of us even 20. So veterans through and through making puzzle games. So we know how a puzzle game is supposed to look like at the end game, at the top of the charts, revenue-wise even. And so when getting together, the founders figured out that there's better ways of doing it, more streamlined ways. And by starting a studio, 2022, when they got together, they figured out that actually one key component on a studio done nowadays would be integrating it with AI. Doesn't mean that we're developing our own AI, but it does mean that we are very AI conscious, AI first, by which we mean we know the tools that a game should have to get to the top chart, the live ops features that it should have, what a team needs. And so we made everything compatible with AI so we can introduce these new tools as they came out, like week after week, a new tool. We test them out, we check them out, and we see what capability does this AI have for game making, in the traditional sense of game making, to make us faster, make us better at what we do. So this leads me back to what's a typical day. So a typical day for me actually might start browsing through TikTok, seeing what are the AI news of the day, maybe having a quick one-on-one with an artist or with an engineer to figure out, hey, this AI, how could we use it? How can we do better, do faster with this? Test it out, see if it's good. Then I revert back to my normal tasks of using AIs to generate content, to generate ideas, test creatives. From the marketing side, creatives is always one of the key components of the job. So brainstorming new creatives and following through with the execution of them, key part of the job. But also, obviously, as VP of Marketing, budgeting, meetings. One thing that's been very interesting has been working so closely with product. It's something that we always talk about, the marketing being closer to product, but and as someone who's done ad monetization throughout the years, I've always worked a bit with product, but never to this extent. We're very intertwined to the point that I'm on all the product meetings as well, and figuring where we're headed and feeding back information from the creative tests and from marketability tests and seeing where it goes next. So it's pretty synergistic between product, marketing, AI, all of this together.
Very cool. Something of a lot on your plate there. So 2023 was definitely a challenging year for our industry as a whole. What's your take on things? What was your experience in that?
I'm the worst person in the world to answer this because I actually had a great year in my career.
For you with that.
Yeah. I completely disagree that it was a bad year.
Fantastic. So tell us what are some of the highlights from 2023 then.
So was scaling a game to the top charts out of, I'm not going to say nowhere, of course not nowhere, but it's a good game. Just having a good game is not enough. Obviously you need some good marketing behind it. And I was very fortunate and lucky to find a team that had a good game and get them to those top charts using all kinds of different ad networks and tools and so forth. I think that for sure it was a difficult year for everyone, but the reason it was a difficult year has been that some of the things that have been working for us for a decade now just don't work anymore. Yeah. We had the COVID boom to kind of sustain us over the privacy issues that arose, but that's gone. Now the financial climate is more tight. The users are starting to go back to their old patterns, not inflated patterns of usage of apps. And we still have to deal with the privacy issues. And there's also some movements in ad monetization that are making things even more difficult as well. So what does all this lead? Lead to whatever was working before might not necessarily be working now. So why did I see success? Is because as someone who was in established companies such as Rovio, I was already seeing the writing on the wall of what was upcoming, was blessed by that, and saw we need innovation, we need to do something different now. This means new acquisition channels, new ways of doing creatives, new ways of managing marketing teams, new ways of collecting data, and new ways of transferring that data back into, let's say, AI or some internal tool to optimize better. Which means for the bigger companies, this has been a bit of a tough year because they had to steer a bigger ship. But for some startups that were lean enough, it was easy to steer and ride some waves. So we saw some hits last year, and it would be silly not to mention even a big one like Monopoly Go that was a success last year. So I think there were pockets of success for the ones that knew how to ride new waves. Yeah.
So from a marketing standpoint, like, what do you typically look for in a game to determine if you think it's going to be successful or not? Mm-hmm. Is it the data, the numbers? What are some of the specifics there?
So my measure of whether a startup or a company will be successful is actually how honest they are with themselves. And this boils down back to the game as well. If a game is true to its own numbers and is true to its own audience, it will probably succeed. So what does this mean? In hyper-casual for years, people have always said, oh, have a sub $1.50 CPI and have a above 50% day one retention. Very clear-cut numbers. It's not that clear-cut for every genre. It's not that clear-cut even nowadays and so forth. But I like that idea of you have a good CPI, you have a good retention. Great, you found a product market fit. But that's step one. The other step that I also feel like is vital is knowing who you're doing this game for. If you're doing a game for younger audiences, I'm not surprised if you would advertise on TikTok and everything would go well. I would also not be surprised if you're generating revenue more with ad revenue rather than purchasing power, because they don't have that purchasing power. And conversely, if you're doing an older audience, yes, Facebook still might make sense and so forth. So I think it's a combination of having very clear basic KPIs, CPI, retention, with a very deep understanding of who you're doing it with and following through in all aspects of creatives, store, game, etc.
Sure. So a little bit more of a fun question. Are there any mobile games that you're currently playing that you think are monetized well or marketed well?
So let's go on the monetization side. I think that there's one that I have looked up to for a few years now, which is The Legend of Slime. I think they do ad revenue in a way that most studios should look and learn from. In terms of games that are on my phone that I've been playing, I've been weirdly playing this cute little one, Campfire Cat Cafe. It's a really nice one. And I still play Golden Goblins to this day. So I think those are some that I would like to mention, yeah.
Cool. I have one last question for you. What are the types of things that we can expect from Cosmic Lounge Games in 2024?
So as a new studio that we just got our seed last year, which kudos to us getting a seed in this economic climate. Our first soft launch. We're working on it. It's close to coming out. It's looking good internally. Fingers crossed. Yeah, our first game. Yeah.
Nice. Congrats on that. That's very exciting, and look forward to hearing more about that this year. Thank you so much again for meeting with us today. It's great.
Cheers. Thank you. Yeah.